Hey guys, thank you for dropping by the According to Maish channel. I'm very excited to have you guys here again, and today I'll be talking about the 10 last books that I've read. I'm very excited, so welcome. I am going to show you the list of the books and then I'm going to make a few comments. However, I'm not going to get into I'm not going to get in depth about the books. That is something that I'll do on a later date, so you guys tune in if you want to find out more of what I think about the books, and let me know which book you'd like me to specifically discuss. So as you guys will notice on my list, there's quite a lot of books that are written by African Politan and African authors, and the reason is, growing up I hardly ever had a lot of books by African authors or Afropolitan authors, and I guess there are lots of reasons for that, but I think one of the main thing is they're just so hard to put or I didn't have any access to the books, so it was hard for me to actually even think that that's stuff that I should be looking for. So I guess as an adult I feel like I have more control over that, and so I'm able to put those books on my shelf and read quite a lot of them. And I guess I feel that it's difficult to get these books because even right now, at my local chapters, it's really hard to get any books written by African authors or Afropolitan authors unless they're very, very, very popular. At a given time, I'd say that I find I would not even say 5%, so I guess that's a bit troubling. And I guess before I didn't think that that was a problem until recently, when I started to actually make it a point to read some of them. So I've recently realized the importance of reading books that are written by people who have the same experiences as you. And I guess one of the authors whose book I've recently read was Yaa Gyasi. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I'm guessing. Yes, that's how I say it. Yaa Gyasi. And I guess one of the things that she says is that you must find books that speak to you. Not that I'm saying that people should not read other things, but I think it's still important to actually make it a point to read books that are written by people who have similar experiences, because then they tend to have a point of view of the world that you may specifically relate to, just because maybe some of the forms of identity that you identify with are things that they do as well. So I think that's really important. But for me, after I discovered all the awesome books or not all of them, I'm still finding lots and lots, and every time I find a good one I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a nice gem. But since I went on that trip, oh god, my thirst and hunger for the books is just unquenchable. So I guess that is why I make it a point to read lots and lots. And yeah, so like I said earlier, I am going to talk about the books in the order of the last one that I've read, and the last one was Weep Not Child by Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I think I got the name right. I may not though. But anyways, I guess this is it was an interesting read. It's a very easy read, and what would I say about it? It was an interesting, easy read about, I guess, and it's set up in Kenya during the time of the Mau Mau uprising. If you want to read, it's more of a one-day book that's maybe read for fun, unless you have to read it for your class. But yeah, I found it quite easy to read. I guess it was not very complex, and that's why I'm referring it to an easy read. But I'm glad that I read it. So the second last book that I read was Homegoing by Ya Gyasi. I think I'm saying her name right, but once again maybe not. So yeah, if I'm saying it wrong, please tell me, like, if you know the right. Oh well, never mind. Yeah, so this one, the second last book that I read was Homegoing by Ya Gyasi. I thought it was a very interesting read. I guess it's a really good book of healing, and yeah, like it just gives an interesting perspective to like the African diaspora on slavery. And yeah, I thought the beginning and throughout the book, like, it was quite good writing, and then I didn't think that the ending was as good or as interesting as the rest of the writing was, but I guess it was about letting go and just forgiving and making peace with yourself, or I guess that's what the characters in the book do. So yeah, I like the book. Yes, I would recommend it. Yeah, it's a bit of an easy read as well. I guess it's something that you'd read in not too long, I think, depending on the kind of reader you are. So yeah, I recommend this one. And the third last book that I read was Dancing the Death Drill by Fred Khumalo. Fred Khumalo, that's how I say it. So yeah, maybe some people say it different, but I guess, yeah. Anyways, I guess this one was an easy read as well. It's something that's just to be read quickly, and I guess it's really fictional, and I enjoyed the book. Yeah, so that's the third last book that I've read. And the fourth last book that I've read was Kintu. Kintu is set up in Uganda. I guess Kintu is pretty mythological. It's fiction. It's awesome. I guess in the introduction, in the introduction, Aaron Batty, I guess one of the things that he mentions is he was not sure if Kintu would be a book that's accepted by European or American readers, and I go, yeah, it's an awesome book, why not? But I guess in that case I was going, am I considered as one of the American, like, readers that he's referring to? Because personally I loved the book, and I guess I found a few people that was like, I like that character, I think that character is quite awesome. So yeah, I recommend Kintu. It's actually quite a good read. And the fifth last book that I read was Sapiens by Yuval Noah. Yes, I highly recommend Sapiens because I guess it's really relevant to our times. It's pretty much fiction too, because I guess, like Yuval Noah himself says, a lot of these things are storytelling, and I guess, yeah. But anyways, I guess this is Yuval Noah's attempt to make us understand the history of humankind, but very, very briefly. Yuval has lots and lots of interviews on YouTube, so if you're not going to get the book immediately, I recommend that you watch some of his YouTube interviews. They're actually quite awesome. I highly, highly, highly recommend this book. I think it was, well, I guess out of the 10, it's definitely one of the books that I read, and I thought, I'm so glad and I feel enriched by reading this book. So yeah, highly recommend it. I guess the sixth last book that I read was The Beautiful Things That Heaven Bears by Dinau Mengistu. I guess with this author, it's funny because I just searched him because of a conversation that I had with this young woman that I met at a Starbucks near my home. And she was reading one of his other books, and then I went for a trip to Seattle with my sisters, and I guess I saw the book, I recognized his name, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to get the book and I'm going to read it. Yeah, I liked the book. It was an easy read as well. I guess it's interesting. I was not very happy with the ending, but I guess, yeah, the book was interesting. It's a nice book if you're looking for a good, easy read on a nice weekend. But yeah, I recommend the book. And the seventh last book that I read was 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote for Chaos by Jordan B. Peterson. Yes, the notorious Jordan B. Peterson, or at least that's how he is famed to be. I guess there's quite a lot of controversy going on with Jordan Peterson's image and some of the things that he has said. I'm really curious to know what you guys think about it. And yeah, so I enjoyed the book. I think there were things that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I think there were things that he recommended that I thought, you know what, I actually absolutely agree with that. Not with everything. Some things I thought, as much as I'd like to agree with that, I still think that it's not necessarily the case. Things can be a bit more different than what you're recommending. If you guys would like to hear me talk about the book in depth, let me know. Choose it to be the one that I talk about more. And the eighth last book that I read was We Need New Names by Nanviolet Bulawayo. I thought that the book was interesting, but I wish that the narrator was not a child. I guess at the beginning I enjoyed the book. Well, at the beginning I thought, oh, this is interesting, but I was really disappointed that it didn't end up developing into a character that's older because, yeah, I guess I felt like the story would have been told a bit better, but of course it would have lost the shock value that it had from it coming from the innocence of the child. So yeah, otherwise I like the book. It's a nice, easy read as well. So if you guys want me to discuss this one more in depth, please comment, send me a message and let me know which one you'd like me to discuss out of the 10. The ninth last book that I've read was The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I obviously pretty much love all the Dostoevsky books that I've read. I think they're very well written. He's a very good intellectual thinker, so I definitely learned a lot from this book and I enjoyed it too. It's definitely not an easy read, so you have to be prepared to put in quite a bit of time to read this one, but you'll be greatly awarded, so you should read it. It's a good book. And the 10th last book that I read was Ghana Must Go by Ty Selassie. I really liked the book. I mean, I actually cried while reading the book. Ty Selassie absolutely stresses that this is not an African story. She's just writing a story about the Savage family. But, of course, people always relate to books, and I absolutely loved this book. I highly recommend it. The death scene takes a long time, but just get over it. It's good. I liked it. However, I have to be quite honest, I actually really like the death scene. Some of the things that other people have said is, yeah, it took too long for Kweku to die, but I liked it. I loved the poetry in the first section of the book, so I didn't mind it. I thought it was beautiful, so for that reason I'm like, that's okay. The death scene can be that long, so yeah. So those are the last 10 books that I've read. I am very curious to know what you guys think about them.